Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where in the world you are, mi gente. As always, I want to let you know that I appreciate you tuning in and sharing your Monday blues with me. And if you haven't done so already, go follow me on Instagram at itsmi.chelle. Click the link in my bio so we can continue to connect everywhere. Also, make sure you subscribe to my podcast. Hello, you're already on YouTube. Click that sub button, that notification bell. Let's go, let's do it. And make sure you subscribe to all my podcast platforms so you don't miss a thing. All right, let's go.
I see you. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me, Shell bitch.
Hey, gente, welcome back to another week of the It's Mee'Shelle podcast. And remember, my job is to make your road to Friday a lot easier. Mi gente, happy Sunday, feliz lunes. Thank you so much for joining me this week and for tuning in. If you've already listened to the audio version of this, thanks for tuning in to the It's Mee'Shelle podcast, the YouTube channel. I really appreciate you. And thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me rant about life because why not? It's Sunday, tomorrow's Monday. It doesn't get any better than that. So this past Sunday, I want to say a week ago, it marked the 21st anniversary since the 9/11 attacks. And I just wanted to mention that because it's crazy how quickly time flies. I still remember the day it happened. The entire city was at a standstill. So, just never forget. Life is crazy. It's still crazy now. This city, I don't know. This is the real Gotham City out here. So, Batman, if you're listening, man the fuck up. I because this shit is crazy. We're living in some crazy ass times. So with that said, talking about Batman, what better way to start off this conversation than talking about Batman, especially because Batman has so many mommy and daddy issues. Now that that's where okay, yeah, we're talking about traumas, okay? We're talking about childhood traumas, but coming from our family members. And I feel like this is not talked about enough. So this week's topic is las familias o los familiares tóxicos, the toxic family members, because we all have figured out that they're toxic and they continue to be toxic. So why not continue the toxic talk for I guess the rest of this month? I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what I come up with next week. Maybe, maybe not. Listen, on Red Lipstick Vibes, I spoke about toxic mothers. Shameless plug, shout out, Ms. Ty RLV. Love you, girl. She hosts Ladies' Night on Wednesdays. Typically, it is a niche. It's married or, in relationships, feminine women, and we all get together and we talk about many different things. So when I took over the show, I was talking about toxic mothers. So just make sure you go and tune into that. But I wanted to talk about toxic family members, especially after hanging out with a dear friend of mine, Isa. I love you, girl. Yes, thank you so much for sharing those amazing drinks. We just had a blast talking about our toxic family members over some wonderful drinks, awesome yet really loud music. And I think that we also witnessed something illegal, but that's for another podcast. Okay, so this past weekend, I want to say we went down like a really dark path or down memory lane, and I wanted to get into it. So, if you're getting ready for work, already at work, or walking into your humble abode because your day is over and you're so fucking lucky, especially because it's a Sunday, right? Make sure that you don't ever forget that I'm here to change the scene. So, I'm going to help you forget that it's Sunday and that tomorrow's Monday by setting a different scene. I'm going to create the scenario for y'all. I'll give you some time to get ready. All right, let's get it. Imagine coming out into this world, just being born without your consent, by the way. And as you grow up, your family talks down to you. You try to figure out what you're doing wrong, why you get treated so differently, and especially different if you have siblings, but you can't figure it out. They talk about your hair, your complexion, the way you carry yourself as an adult. Now, let's fast forward to the future as this adult, and you sit you with other adults and start to have these conversations where you all say the same thing. You all kind of sound very similar. You say things like, "Oh my gosh, I've been through that," or "My parents used to say the same thing to me too." Welcome to the world where you talk about what you've gone through and figure out that you are not alone. Welcome to childhood traumas caused by our own family. And notice that the trauma is plural. What in the buffookery is going on over here? All right, mi gente. So this week we are talking about childhood traumas, and this is a special episode to me because of the way the conversation or the topic came about. I mentioned earlier that I was out for nice little girls, time happy hour with my friend Isa this past weekend, and we haven't seen each other in a very, very long time. So it was very fun to spend some quality girl time. Shout out to that. I'm sure it's a fucking charger. I am almost 1,000% sure that the car that's revving up out there is a charger. So, welcome to New York. It's great out here. Anyway, so her and I were talking about a whole bunch of stuff. She's been places, okay? And that passport, I mean, she's been to Germany, France, and I think she said Poland. She has the receipts, babes. Rosalia, the Spanish artist, the Spaniard, she's an artist, came up because I wanted to know how everyone feels about her, in particular, Dominicans like myself. So bear with me, trust the process. The one place she mentioned she did not have a good time and was actually a victim of racism was Spain. And let's not forget, I do keep saying Dominicans like myself because of our history with the Spaniards and colonization. Excuse me. And colonization. So we get into Spain, and she mentions that the only place she experiences racism out of all the places she's been in is Spain. And it was mostly because of her complexion, and it was also because of her hair. So just so you kind of understand, she's a little darker than I am, and her hair is very curly, very, very big. It's a beautiful afro. But can you believe that shit? And this is a rhetorical question because, of course, I can. Although it is 2022, racism exists, especially within our own communities. Racism, colorism against one another. So I find it very interesting that she left the country and thought it was going to be, because why else do we leave the country? Because we don't want to fucking be here. We want to go ahead and travel. We want to have some fun. We want to see new things. So of course we're, expecting just great times all the time. Not necessarily true. And I know it isn't fair for me to blame this Spanish artist for the bullshit of her whole country, but that's what we tend to do, isn't it? Right? Like we just point the finger like, oh, this person's from that place, so how dare you support them? But that's why I want to find out how other people feel, because I'm really confused. I don't know how to feel about her. Because, okay, so this is the word of the year. She's definitely culturally appropriating, I want to say. Wow, that's crazy, yo. Just so you know, La Comai will make little appearances here and there because that's just who she is. And if you haven't tuned in to the audio version of this, make sure you go ahead and tune in because she definitely had a lot to say. But she's definitely, Rosalia, is appropriating a lot of Dominican styles, Dominican types of music. And don't get me wrong, she's doing it to other cultures as well. Like, I know she has a whole bunch of reggaeton music. She has a whole bunch of like dembow sounding music. And she's also working with artists that are, either Dominican or Puerto Rican. Or just, let's just say we know she's being influenced as an artist by all the shit around her, because that's what artists do. That's what we all do, I feel. We're all influenced. Like me, myself, I'm influenced to talk about this, and I'm sure this has been spoken about a trillion times before. So I'm just still trying to figure out how I feel about her just for history's sake. I don't know, mi gente. I want you guys to let me know. Let me know what you think. DM me on Instagram and let's have the conversation. Okay? So back to childhood traumas caused by family members. So I asked my girl about her and about Rosalia, and she said that Spain treated her horribly, and she mentioned her hair, and that's when the traumas were activated. Okay, this is when we started to get into the nitty gritty of what the start of our family members' toxicity towards us, kind of, it took its form, it took its shape. But before we get into that, let's take a short little break. All right, mi gente, thank you so much for that little break. Just had to take a little sip of water, had to get my shit together, but now we're back, okay? So, something that many people don't talk about or gaslight us about is childhood trauma, okay? And it starts with the people that are closest to you. It be your own family, right? That's the saying. It always be your own family. And along with traumas, the racism that exists within the culture, and in particular the Dominican culture, since that's where I'm from. Both my mother and my father are from the Dominican Republic. So I think that I'm just slightly a little bit qualified, un poco cualificada para hablar de esto. So I just want to, I want to get into it. So one thing that Isa said to me was, one thing that she said that resonated was how her childhood trauma started when she was born. And it was the same for me. So, what I like about this is that it's coming from two perspectives. It's coming from myself and from her, and we both have very different upbringings, although we're the same culture, if that makes sense. We're both Dominican, both our parents were Dominican. However, it was very different for us, in particular because of the color of our skin. That's like the main thing. However, we experienced very, very similar traumas because of that. So, she said that when she was born, she was a lot darker than she is now. Like I said, she's slightly darker than I am now. However, when you're born, you're just kind of born into this fucking earth, and then you kind of start taking shape, you start changing. So when she was born, she was slightly darker than she is now. Like I said before, her hair, very kinky curly hair. And one thing that she said was that her grandmother didn't want to go see her at the hospital because she was too dark and she was frightened by that. And to me, that doesn't make absolutely any sense because your daughter, because this is her grandmother, so her mother, carried her for 9 months. And for me, being pregnant and, to have a grandparent just feel all that emotion and that happiness because I'm getting ready to come out. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh shit, I've been let down. What the fuck is that? Isn't that shit crazy? I don't understand people. And this is how it starts because clearly she didn't think she was saying or doing anything wrong or that there was anything wrong with her feelings, when in fact everything was wrong with your feelings. Okay? And this is the issue that we have within our communities. It's like, oh, well, she was just too dark. I couldn't even believe it. I was afraid. Really? You clutched your pearls? Are you fucking kidding me? That's a joke. That is such a joke. She said she was afraid of looking at her. And there's so many things that we can say. And I think I already went into a little rant. But like as a parent, though, like now let's go into like a parent's perspective. Why would you say that to your kid? Why would you say that to your child at all? There's absolutely no reason you need to give them a complex. And that's what happens. Children aren't born with complexes. We aren't born um, knowing what racism is. We don't know those things. Shout out MTA for that fucking bus that decides to pick somebody up. Mind you, that bus never stops there. So this episode is going to be full of rants, clearly. Clearly. Um and so okay, so let me just take it back to the history of colorism in, the Dominican culture, because I like to drop knowledge. So let me look this up. Okay. So ever since the president, or dare I say the dictator, because he was a dictator, I don't want to give him too much time. He was a piece of shit. However, 65 years ago, Trujillo, he was a dictator in the Dominican Republic. And ever since then, racism within the Dominican people, or dare I say the Caribbean community, just started, it took over rampantly. Where if you were a shade too dark, you weren't pretty, you weren't cute, you were too dark to succeed, you were too dark to be presented to other people or to be introduced to other people, you were too dark to get anything or anywhere in life. But if you were dark and had kinky hair, oh fuck, that made you the ugly stepsister or the ugly stepbrother in the Dominican culture. Like, you were shunned, you were hidden. If there was a party, you were in the room putting the coats away. You never came out, you never said hello to the guests. And it's a real thing. It is a real thing. I have experienced it, I have seen it. So it is a real thing. And in case you didn't know, the Dominican culture is a mix of Spaniard colonists, right? African slaves, and Taino natives. So of course we would all look or present differently because we're just mixed with so many different cultures, right? We're so mixed. So of course we would look different. But if you were too dark, you were a cocolo or a cocola. And that is a different thing within itself. And in my experience, the word has always been negative because of the context it was used in. But I recently learned that some people say, this is what I learned myself, that this is a term of endearment. I will let you look that up, mi gente. I It was always used in a way where it was almost like demeaning if you were very dark. Tu eres un cocolo, tu eres una cocola. And I was just like, okay. Then I kind of grew up and said, okay, maybe it's just slang. But again, just the way it was used growing up really gave me bad vibes. Anyway, so Trujillo embedded in the Dominican brain that being dark was ugly, and Dominicans that were black and brown shouldn't be treated fairly or as equals, simply because he hated black and brown people. He hated them so much so that he slaughtered thousands of Haitians in the late 1930s for just because he didn't like them, and the dislikes of their features as well. If you had a wide nose, kinky hair, or bad hair. Oh, that's my fucking favorite. The amount of times that I used to hear, ella tiene ese pelo malo, or y ese pajón. Like, oh, she has bad hair. What the hell? Where are you going? Where are you going? Why are you walking out with this kinky hair? Why are you walking out with that afro? All because I wanted to, or decided to wear my hair naturally, which is why I will tell you, sometimes I do get self conscious about it because my hair does get really, really big when it's curly. And when I got into my 30s, that's when I really started embracing my curliness, my curly afro, kinky hair. But most of the time, I do kind of blow it out. And I do think it's preference as well, because when the weather is nice and it's not so hot outside, I do like to have like the hair just kind of covering, instead of having to wash it and go outside with it's cold with wet hair, curly hair. But it did give me a certain complex, because I would always ask myself, well, why can't my hair look like hers? Or why is her hair different? Why is my hair not like hers? I use all the same products. I used to walk around and beg girls, like, what products do you use? I want to try those products because I just want my hair to look like yours, and I can't do it. But little unbeknownst to me, that there was really no way. I already had a curly pattern. My hair was already set in its ways. Unless I really just chemically try to change it up, this is how I was born. So I was made fun of because of the way that I just truly, naturally was. This is who I am. I don't understand. I don't get it. That within itself created a complex where girls were getting their hair permed or straightened as early as the age of 5 years old, because either the mom or the dad couldn't handle the hair. And I would say this is mostly like a female thing, because I believe in Dominican Republic they really do believe in gender roles. So you don't really see a Dominican father or Dominican man sitting down braiding his daughter's hair. You know what I mean? That's mom's job, that's grandma's job. That's just how they are culturally. Um But just imagine at 5 years old, you're sitting down, you're putting all these chemicals in your hair to straighten it because it's just too difficult. Your hair is just too difficult. And you keep hearing this as you grow up. You're 5, you're 6, you're 7 years old. And this is what keeps replaying in your head. So, of course, you're going to grow up saying, I need to keep perming my hair because my grandparents, my mom couldn't do it. So, what makes me think that I could do it if it's kinky as fuck? Isn't that so screwed up? For me, I was around like 9 or 10. That's when my hair was originally permed, but that was the only way that my bad hair was manageable. If it was permed, it had to be straightened all the time. So for me, when it came to my complexion, right? So now we're switching up to the colorism aspect. When it came to my complexion, I was too yellow. I was high yellow. I was way too yellow. I looked like Italian bread. That's what they used to tell me. So, and this came from everyone. I would walk outside and people would ask me, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, live in the Bronx, but my family, my mom and my dad are Dominican." They used to tell me, "No, you're not. You're not Dominican." Yeah, right. I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And then if we travel to the Dominican Republic, they'll be like, "Oh, she's the oddball because she's just too white." My maternal figure would call me Italian bread. I'm telling you, she would make fun of my nose too. So my dad had a very wide nose. So when I was younger, I guess I hadn't grown into my nose, like my face didn't grow into my nose, whatever the fuck that means. And she would tell me all the time that my nose was too wide and I need to make sure that I pinched it because if I didn't pinch it, it was going to stay very wide. So I have to pinch it so I can mold and shape my nose. Isn't that fucking insane? Like, why do family members do this to their children? We already have enough fucking shit to worry about as kids growing up in this cruel fucking world. And to have now your own family member add to that anxiety of growing up, that's some bullshit. All right. She would also ask me like, what happened to your hair? When I was born, my hair was very straight. It was very long. But once I started to grow, like I said, we change when we get older. When we're born, from the time we're born to the time we're like 5, we're like two fucking different kids. You know what I mean? We definitely start molding and shaping into what our DNA is meant or want or is written out to be our code, right? So she would always ask me like, "What happened to your hair?" Because it turned very curly as I started to grow, and it was very kinky, and it made her life so hard because it was too difficult to manage. She would also tell me stories about how like light I was and how people would embarrass her when she would take me to doctor appointments because they thought that she was my nanny because I was too white passing. I mean, what the fuck? Why are you telling me these things? Explíquenme. Why are you telling me these things? There's nothing I could do, homie. You and my dad made me. How is this my fault? I never understood that. Do they know anything about like their history? Like my favorite, one of the meanest things they've ever said to me, and this is actually my favorite one because to me everything is just a joke. I can't really take much seriously. I am a very serious person when I have to be. It takes a lot to like get me offended because it's just, again, I've been hardened by my family and childhood trauma. So there we go. But my favorite was being told that I was adopted because I was lighter than everyone in my immediate family. So imagine growing up, you're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you're trying to find who you are, your identity, you're a young woman, and then being told, "Well, you were adopted by your maternal figure," because it wasn't my paternal figure. So imagine being told, "Oh, you were adopted," in like a really serious tone, and all kids take everything serious. Who the fuck? What 7-year-old knows what the fuck sarcasm is? I mean, maybe these woke ass COVID 7-year-olds, yeah, but who in the planet knows as a child what sarcasm is? Or like, if you're joking. Everything to us is anxiety filled as kids. Everything to us while we're turning, going through that adolescent phase is anxiety filled. So parents, if you didn't know that, yes, your child is probably filled with anxiety right now because there's so much shit going on in the world around them. They need help navigating it. That's all. That's all I'm trying to say. So, going back to colorism, I don't understand. We weren't given the opportunity to love ourselves, and they literally turned us against anyone within our family, within our community, and even ourselves. We didn't like ourselves. They made us hate who we are because we looked different. Okay. And then sent us off on our way and said, go ahead, live life, be fair to everyone, love everyone, trust people. Hell no, that's not how the fuck that works. You didn't fucking set me up for life. You set me up for failure. Oh, yeah. And it's so interesting how really childhood traumas, before you really become self-aware and educate yourself, because unfortunately the people who were supposed to educate you didn't do so, you really feel alone. Okay. You feel, I don't want to say neglected, but you feel like you don't belong in the world. Like you're so different because you were told you were so different and you didn't belong in your own family, that when you're off in the world, that's even worse. Because if I don't belong in my own family, I'm going to belong in the fucking planet. Now that's weird. That's a weird feeling, right? So we didn't like ourselves. They made us hate ourselves. And then they tell us, very interestingly, I was always told I should marry white or Asian because I need to ensure that I better my race. So not only do I have the pressures of being this person who's so different than anyone else or everyone else in their family, that you're kind of shunned by it, but now they're giving you instructions to make sure that you better your race. It is up to you. Why are you putting so much pressure on me? And what the fuck is that, better my race? That's so weird. So see, this is why I love Issa's story, because she's married to a white man and they have a beautiful relationship, beautiful children, beautiful family. And her story is just the opposite. So because she was the darker female, because that also matters, the darker female in her family, she didn't deserve a happily ever after. She was too dark for it. She didn't deserve it so much. She didn't deserve it so much so that her own family started making up rumors about her husband, and her own grandmother didn't go to their wedding because she felt that Issa was showing off. Fuck yes, she was showing off. Absolutely, she was showing off. I don't understand why people think that a wedding party is a celebration for them. No, it's for the bride and groom, you fucking morons. It is not a celebration for you. It is a celebration to celebrate their love, their commitment to each other, their embrace for each other. Okay, their happiness. How dare you? How dare you? Y'all already know what's coming. Y'all know what's coming. What in the befuckery is going on over here? Absolutely, because what is going on over here? Why do our parents, I don't know what they think. I don't know. I really do try to figure that out. And I think that's what drives me crazy, is that we will never know because they're just too old. And that's the excuse they use. They're so old. They're so far gone. We don't remember. Of course you don't remember. And guess what? I will just choose to never understand it, but I won't practice it. The bare minimum is to love your children and to make sure that you don't hurt them or cause them any pain. And there isn't a rule book on parenting, but all this bullshit, come on, right? You know what you're doing is wrong. There can't be a bone in your body saying, I'm going to go to sleep at night knowing that I told her she was too yellow and that's what I was supposed to do as a mom. No, you know it's wrong. I'm going to go to sleep knowing that I told her that her grandmother didn't want to go to her wedding. And that's okay because she needed to know. No, absolutely not. That is not how this works. And what pisses me off is that this isn't talked about as much as you think it is. And why not? Why isn't it talked enough? Why is it when we confront them, we're gaslighted into thinking that we're crazy and things didn't happen the way that we're thinking about, or we just misunderstood what they're trying to say, or we were misunderstanding what they were trying to explain or teach us. Stop fucking gaslighting us. I hate that. All right? Stop telling us that we don't understand and that we're making things up, because we know what happened to us. We know what we felt at the time that it happened to us. Don't say it doesn't exist. Don't say it never happened, because that's the worst when people make you feel really, really crazy. All right? And my favorite is that now that we're all grown up and we have a voice, they fear us and they ask us, why are we so aggressive or so combative? No, fucker, it's called boundaries. It's called boundaries. You can't tell me about my kids You can't tell me about, how they look like, what they should do, what's best for them. Absolutely not. You can barely fucking help me out when I was growing up. I'm going to entrust that you can help my children. Yeah, fuck out of here. Anyway, let's end on a happy note. Okay, so Issa and I, we were out happy hour, went on a deep dive of childhood family or toxic family members causing traumas. And the night ended beautifully with her. And we both agreed that we have to protect our children from this. We can't have the toxic mentality spreading like wildfire, Stop. We can't have this toxic mentality spreading like wildfire with our children. It's going to end with us, and we're going to help them grow, and they will never have to experience that ugliness. Mi gente, make sure you go listen to La Comai's rant. The extended version of this episode is out now wherever you tune or stream your podcasts. But you know what time it is. It's time for the Mee'Shelle Shoutouts. And this week, we have more amazing podcasts. So we will start with Zaya from The Zaya Show. Listen, he's streaming. All right, let's go. Follow him. Go subscribe. Do what you got to do. His positivity is simply wonderful. It's a breath of fresh air. And he has so many wonderful ideas, so many great topics. And we have to work together again, Zaya. We definitely do, because you're just a vibe. So make sure you check him out on YouTube and on all podcast platforms. And next up, we have Rome Davis, the host of the No ID podcast and comedian. We were guests on each other's podcasts a while back. So if you haven't tuned into that, go ahead, go check him out, and then go listen to him on itsmi.chelle.podcast. It was definitely a great time, because there's nothing like a good collab. And don't forget, that if you haven't listened to it, I'll tell you now, Rome is ordained. All he needs is a plate of food. So make sure you check him out wherever you stream your podcasts, on YouTube, or maybe live in a comedy show if he's in your area. Okay, he's great talent, and he's going to have to help me out on my road to comedy adventure. And that's for another podcast, and it's coming, and it's going to be fucking great, and you guys are going to fucking love it. All right. Now we have the Harris Tribe with hosts Mrs. She Said and Mr. He Said. And I always have to say that very slow because it tongue twists me all the way the fuck up. But I love them. Okay, this amazing husband and wife duo keep it all the way real. They have no hair in their tongue. Their family is beautiful. Their relationship is beautiful. They keep it all the way real. Okay, so if you're not ready for realness, if you're not ready for raw realness, then I suggest you stay back. Nah, I'm lying. Don't stay back. You need it. Just sit and listen. It'll teach you a lot of shit that you need to know. And I love how they always spread their love in abundance. So make sure you check them out on YouTube. All right, mi familia, that's all I got. All right. So don't forget, if you are a podcaster, or if you want me to shout out any of your favorite podcasts, DM me, email me, send me a message, and I'll make sure, to connect and give them a shout out, because we all out here trying to grow. Ain't nothing wrong with it, right, mi familia? And there is nothing like showing each other love and support, because we're trying to just make each other, we're trying to flourish. That's it. Why not? So I'm not going to make this a very long one, because it is Sunday and people are just trying to rest, trying to relax. I feel like this was another rant. Every time we talk about traumas, it's a rant, because it's just like we've been gaslighted for so long that it's just like, nah, fuck y'all. We don't talk about you now. Pero my people, mi gente, it's about that time. And like always, I want to thank you for spending your precious moments with me. And I know we got real and we got personal, but before I go, I want to remind you to make sure you follow me on Instagram at its.me.chelle. Click the link in my bio. It'll take you to all my other socials, and you can send direct voice messages to me, emails, and so much more. And make sure you click on that subscribe button below, please, and on that notification bell, because I don't want you to miss absolutely anything. I want you to be all up on it always. Let's go, mi familia. I'm trying to get those numbers up, and all the links will be in the description, and it's also on my Instagram bio. So you choose. I'm giving you options here. I'm giving you options over here. I'm just trying to make getting to Friday a lot easier. And just like that, we've reached the end of It's Me, Shell. And you can catch It's Me, Shell podcast every Monday, wherever you stream your podcast, to make sure your week starts off right. Or so we can just say, fuck you, Monday, together. Okay? There's no new episode. Okay, don't forget, there's no new episode. You're watching this right now. I had a lot of stuff to do. It was my teenager's birthday. We were out and about. So I just hope and wish and pray that you go back and catch up on any of the episodes that you may have missed. This is the perfect time to catch up, okay? So lastly, I want to say this, because we were speaking about colonization, so why not bring this up? Queen Elizabeth II has died, and now her firstborn, King Charles III, has taken over at his young age of 73, and she died at her ripe age of 96. My question is, what's in the water they're drinking? I don't know. They live really, really long. I mean, how bad are we fucking up? Because they have fish and chips. They have fish and fucking chips and Guinness beer, which is basically tar. And don't come for me. That's just how I feel.
Wow, that's crazy, yo.
Isn't it fucking crazy? But they outlive everybody. Okay, I want to know what their secret is. Stop gatekeeping, royal fam. Y'all out here fucking worried about Meghan Markle. Get out of here. I'm worried about how do I get to live like they do as long as I can. Ain't that some shit? Peace and love. I'm out.
I see you. It's me. 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 It's me.